Why is it that we always gavel 3 times? Why is it not 2 or 4 or something? We always do 3 times.
You're the one with the control.
That's true.
You can hit it 3 times, 4
Maybe
times.
I'll ask my psychiatrist that the next time I'm on the couch.
Might
Very
cost you.
good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Welcome to the June Louisville Town Council meeting. This is a monthly meeting of your town council. Thank you so much for those of you who are here in the council chambers to join us for this meeting. Thank you for those who are watching at home on TV6, watching on our live streaming on louisvillenc.net. And we're going to give it a try again to see if we're going to stream on Facebook. This is the biggest challenge of the town today, is to see if we can't get all of these things working at one time. But wherever you are, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for joining us to watch your business as the council makes their deliberations this evening. With that, we will start the evening with an invocation by our town attorney, Bo Houff, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Ed Smith. Please stand if you're able.
And Mayor, if the Facebook connection is the worst and most difficult problem we have tonight, we truly are blessed, as the manager said. So I just included it as close as it's going to get to it. Let us pray. God our Father, we give you thanks for this beautiful, beautiful day in North Carolina. We thank you for your creation. We thank you for the creation of us. You know us, you love us, you made us. Forgive us if we are not as thankful as we should be for the many blessings that you give to us. But we are thankful for this town. We're thankful for its citizens, for whom we serve. We are thankful for the staff who operates this town on a day-to-day basis. And we're thankful for this elected body. Grant the body wisdom and courage as it goes through the agenda this evening. And then following this meeting tonight, Lord, take us home safely. Be with us in the coming days and weeks. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will have our roll call this evening of council members with our customary introductions.
Good evening, I'm Ed Smith.
Good evening, Sandra Mock.
Mike Horn.
Robert Green.
Marcy Gallman.
And welcome, everyone. I'm Fred Franklin.
Very good. Also with us, we have our town manager, Hank Perkins, our town attorney, Bo Houff. Thank you, Bo, for that invocation. We have our planner, Stacy Talbert. Back on the camera, we have our town public works director, George Hauser. Up here in front, we have our town clerk, Ms. Joyce Walker, and our town finance director, Ms. Pam Orrell. And she's smiling because she's going to be asking for money tonight. I can tell by that look. How's that look?
The green machine.
Ms. Walker, have we had any additions to our agenda since you sent it out?
Believe it or not, no.
We'll see. Very good. With that, council members, are there any additions or changes you would like to make? And if not, we'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Smith makes the motion, Ms. Mock makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's unanimous. Hank, if you'll take us through the consent agenda, please.
Yes, sir. The consent agenda this evening consists of 6 items. First is Resolution 2019048 for the acceptance and approval of monthly financials for April 2019. The approval of council briefing and action minutes from May 2nd, 2019. Approval of council budget and action minutes from May 2nd, 2019. This was continued from April 15th, 2019. The approval of council meeting minutes from May 9th, 2019. The approval of council Tomahawk Creek Financial Obligation Special Meeting on those minutes for May 20th of 2019. And finally, the approval of council Community Center Special Meeting minutes from May 20th, 2019.
Ladies and gentlemen, the consent agenda are made up of items that routinely come before the council. We take them as a group unless any council member wishes to pull any of them off individually for separate discussion. If not, council members, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Franklin makes the motion, Ms. Mock makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's unanimous. Ms. Walker reminded me yesterday afternoon that we have 5 seniors who are graduates of our Student Leadership Committee and who will be graduating from their high schools this last term, so they'll be leaving the Student Leadership Committee, and I'm thinking many of them are going on to other endeavors.
Yes.
So we want to recognize them and wish them the best of luck. Abby Hill, who has been a member of our Student Leadership Committee for 7 years, which is the most, I believe, Ms. Walker, somebody can be on it.
Yes.
Very good. Yasmin Horner, Jade Moreno, Cole Moser, and Robert Reedy Leilobach. Is that close?
We can't say it either.
Robert, if you're watching tonight from wherever you are, my apologies. We gave it our best shot, so if we got it close, great. If we didn't, please forgive us. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have 7 opportunities to address the council tonight. Let me give you a rundown so you have an idea if you're here to speak on a certain issue, you know when to speak. The first one coming up in just a few moments will be our first public forum. And that's an opportunity for anybody to address the council on any of the issues that are not on the agenda for another public hearing. The second opportunity will be for the public hearing on the approval of our 2019-2020 town budget. If you're here to speak on that, please hold your comments to that public hearing. There will be 4 additional separate public hearings on zoning and rezoning and jurisdiction issues regarding Lake Lucera. And if you are here to speak on those, please hold your comments for those public hearings. So we'll take the first one, and I believe we have several people signed up. Matthew Rogers, please come on up. State your name and your address for us, please.
Matthew Rogers, 7512 Duvalde Street. Here today because we're having an issue in our neighborhood with an abandoned house at 7506 Duvalde. The house has been abandoned for the last 10 years. Since then, I think 3 years after it was abandoned, they had dogs outside, just left out in nature until one of them died and the other one was taken by animal control. We've been dealing with overgrown grass, an abandoned pool that has become a breeding ground for mosquitoes and other wildlife. And we just want to express our concern to the council and see if there's anything they can do to help us with our problems. There's a multitude of issues. You know, the fence line's decaying, there's broken windows. We have a large amount of cats around the neighborhood now because there's a mice issue at that house as well. And I think that's about it.
Very good. Thank you, Matthew. Next to sign up is Sandra Bolin Rogers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Town Council and my neighbors. My name is Sarah Bolin Rogers. I moved here about a year ago. For the length of time I've been living here, we have worked on getting our house cleaned up and ready for, more young people to move in or buy ownership in this area. A lot of us after our careers intend to buy in the same area or to come back and have children. And something that has been a concern of mine has been the health and wellness of the people in the immediate vicinity of this aged building. One of the things is the introduction of predators and local wildlife that are attacking these cats. It's to my knowledge that coyotes have come up on our home cameras, and it's a concern since my large dogs have noticed that there's a lot more wildlife at nighttime. And even though it's private and a very quiet part of town, I've noticed that it's just become an issue. And also, I wanted to speak to the health of people who are retired or disabled in our neighborhood and children immediately across the street from us. I just think that it's introducing them to all kinds of problems, rodents, snakes, things like that. That's it.
Thank you very much. We have some other folks who have provided written comments. If any of you would like to speak tonight or let your written comments be recorded in the record, that'd be fine, whatever your pleasure. Yes, ma'am. Please, if you would, come up and state your name and address.
Louise Aaron, 7514 Duvalde Street, Louisville. My main concern is the health hazard with the snakes and the mice, and we've been over that, but there are children across the street, and some of the neighbors do not even want to walk down the street because of that. I would really appreciate it if we had some kind of timeline since it's been about 2 years that this is ongoing, if we could be provided with what will happen next and how we go from here.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council members, generally speaking, we don't respond to those that come before us to speak to public hearing, but since I think this is an issue that I've been aware of, I think our town planner has been aware of, we've had inspections on it. Stacy, would you just take a second and kind of bring us up to date on what our actions are so far and what hopefully we'll be able to do?
To give you a little bit of the process of what the town, what our limits are of what we can do, whenever I receive a complaint for an overgrown lot, our Chapter 43 of our town code, if a lot is overgrown by 8 inches, then it's in violation of the town code for an overgrown lot, overgrown grasses. And so whenever I get that, the town contracts with a company, a firm called Benchmark. I forward those to our representative with Benchmark. They go out, they do their investigation, and they send letters, notices of violation to those property owners. The town code gives them 10 days upon receipt of the letter in order for them to either mow the yard, have it mowed, some form to rectify the issue. After that 10 days is done, I keep track of that. I go out and do an inspection to see if it has been mowed. If it has not been mowed, then I then forward that complaint to the company that the town contract with in order for it to be mowed, and they put it on their schedule. It does take a little bit more than actually 10 days because of the timeline of getting out there, and then the company that Yards by Us is who we contract with to go mow that. They have to actually get it into their tight schedule to go mow it as well. Fortunately, the property on Duvaldy Street was mowed on Tuesday, so it did make it look a little bit better. One other thing about the house, the condition that the house is in, the town of Louisville does not have a minimum housing code ourselves. So we default to the minimum housing code that is enforced by the Forsyth County Housing and Community Development Department. I believe they're a little bit backlogged. I'm not sure exactly what their notice of violation process is, but they have the minimum housing code of Forsyth County that they follow in order to do those things. And then the mosquito issue and the varmint issue, I know that and the Environmental Health Division of Public Health has been out multiple times over the years, and again, since this season, to treat the pool for mosquitoes. I would like to follow up with them about the rats and snakes. I would think that I would be curious to see if that's something that Environmental Health as well could take a look at. As far as just vermin, varmints and stuff like that. But then also, one thing that I was made aware of today by our town manager in taking a look at the town code, if a property in the town limits of Louisville is kind of a repeat offender, if within the prior calendar year they were sent 3 notices of violation, then we have the right to, once we file a complaint, we don't have to go through the 10-day process. We can just send out the firm that we contract with to have that mowed. So the next time that it gets overgrown, hopefully you guys can call and let me know, and we don't have to go through the whole process again, since this property, in fact, was sent multiple violations last year, so they would qualify for those. We have the right to just go out and go ahead and have it mowed.
Very good.
So.
And to clarify, if we have it mowed, what do we do to try to collect that back?
Right.
We send them an invoice for the cost of the mowing plus a $50 administrative fine, and then if they don't pay that, and Bo, you want to?
Yeah, then it'll become a lien, and it's collected as taxes are collected. And so if the taxes are not paid, including those liens, then tax foreclosure actions can take place, and the property could be sold to satisfy those tax obligations.
Okay.
Very good. I'm sorry, Fred, go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you.
So going back to the environmental issue, we have to wait on the county, though, to get into their, I guess, whatever, their system or their backlog in order for the pool issue and the varmints to be taken care of.
Well, the pool, they do come around, multiple times throughout the season and treat the pool with chemicals to try to keep down the mosquitoes. That has been done this season.
Okay.
But as far as the rats and stuff like that, I don't know if that's maybe like a different division of environmental health that maybe can help with that.
Okay. Well, that's what we're waiting to find out. We're looking into that. Okay.
One call to find out.
Okay.
But then the house condition is enforced by Forsyth County as well through the Forsyth County Minimum Housing Code.
And that's what you also are aware that they're backed up on? Okay. Because we need to get this taken care of with the varmints and the animals and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a question, yeah. Stacy, we ever, I know I'm not gonna say you're new, but you're within the,
This is my first season of Overgrown Lots, yeah.
Right. But as far as this housing piece, as far as the minimum standards, is that something that we've ever considered from the planning perspective? Would that be something in our jurisdiction to enforce?
Well, I know they have code enforcement officers that enforce that minimum housing code. It's something that we could possibly take a look at.
And when I asked that question, the next thing I thought about is if you put a code in, who's going to enforce it? And that's
Right.
Yeah,
the long pole in the tent, so,
It would take staff.
It would take
Additional
staff to enforce it. Mhm.
okay.
And this has been abandoned for 2 years or 10 years? I have a hearing, I can't hear that well. How long?
I'm not sure.
10,
I think
10 years.
10. Yeah.
10 years.
Residents are signaling.
Oh, my goodness.
It was if you go inside the house, it was actually formerly a boarding house, so we have no idea what the inside looks at this point.
Wow.
So it was filled with trash bags.
So you guys have seen this and been through this for a long time. Wow.
Does anyone live in this house?
No, it's been abandoned for 10 years.
10 years.
I believe the owner's mother passed and left her a house, so they moved to that house and just left this one. I don't even know how they're keeping it insured or anything else, because most insurance companies won't insure houses.
Right.
I mean,
The tax records show that the owner lives in Winston-Salem. They don't live in Louisville, they live in Winston-Salem.
Folks, we hear you. Stace, if you'll keep me posted, keep the manager posted, and I don't know how much more influence our elected body can be, but if you'll give me the contacts, we'll proceed with making some home calls, and we'll kind of circle back with our contacts at on the commissioners
Yeah.
and see if they can also build a little fire under some folks.
And I would recommend too, I know it's just been mowed this week. We're getting a lot of rain. If it gets overgrown again, call and let me know, and we can go ahead and have it mowed. We don't have to go through the 10-day process again.
Folks, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention
Thank you.
officially.
And Mayor,
You're on record, and we're on record, and we're going to see what we can get done. I'm sorry, Bo.
I was just going to say, there is one last, potential resort, and that would be if the residents around that area wanted to consider seeing council, not me, but I can recommend you to someone perhaps, that might consider treating that as a private nuisance. There's civil action available to you, and that might move things along a little bit faster because some of the remedies that might be available to you might help you out more quickly than what the town or the county can do.
I have a question. Kevin Rogers, I live at 7512 Raleigh. Does the county have an abandoned property ordinance for the city that you're aware of?
It is contained within the minimum housing code. The mere fact that a house is abandoned in and of itself, I don't think is a violation. Sure, as was mentioned, the insurance companies don't like to insure houses that are abandoned, but I don't think that in and of itself is a violation. However, persistent broken windows, some of these conditions that have been described, certainly are violative of the minimum housing code. And those violations, and let me say, even when they get to that part where they're sending notices out, which very well could have happened by now, I don't know that. I don't think anybody in the town has been advised about that, and we wouldn't necessarily be advised about that. But you may want to contact them to ask that question, and as is generally the case, as you're showing tonight, is the greasy wheel will get the grease. The squeaky wheel will get the grease, and so if you'll contact them, and if enough people do, they're going to get tired of hearing from you and maybe perhaps do something. But again, the private remedy action is something that might be available to you.
Can I make a point to that? So our other problem is we have no idea who owns the house at this point because from what I'm reading online, as far as the property, it's gone to foreclosure, and it's supposed to be up for auction. So I don't know if a bank has taken it over.
Well, you can go to the Register of Deeds office and find out who's current owner of record, or you don't even have to go. You can find that out online. The Register of Deeds records are available online. You can search by address.
As we would say, we're on it, and we'll keep you all posted. And please keep us posted, too, as we progress through this. The wheels of government and inspection oftentimes move slow, but we'll see if we can't speed them up a little bit. Thank you for being here tonight. We share your concern.
Another question?
Mike,
Yes, sir.
I seen a
Thank you,
hand
good.
raised.
Hand
over
up.
there.
This evening. Yes, sir. Please come up.
I'm Ken Bird, I live right next to this mess.
Ken, give us a second. Get up here and give us your name and your address here. That way we got it for the record.
This has been going on 10 years or more. I have called everybody in the world. The code inspector for Forsyth County is Ken Nelson. Me and him have become pretty good friends. I've talked to him numerous times. He came out one time and wrote up 49 code violations on this house. And he was trying his best to get something done with it. But he's restricted. He's the only man in his department. He has to handle all Forsyth County. And he needs legislation also, as we do, to try to get something done about this type of situation so it doesn't keep happening.
Yeah.
You know, particularly this house. And the environmental thing, the fellow in charge of it is Ryan Harrison. He's a one-man department also. They don't want to pay nobody. He comes out whenever he can and treats the pool and treats the standing water and all this kind of stuff as best he can. He's not allowed to go on the property. So he just does what he can. And, you know, Louisville needs people like this. They need people in this area that'll take care of this stuff. You know, and I know that's not easy to do, but I'm just telling you from my experience, who I've talked to and how long it's been. And they were both invited to come to this meeting. Neither one of them returned my call, so I don't know what happened there exactly, but they've been helpful.
Very good.
But they're doing all they can.
Understand. Mr. Rogers, would you give us your address, please, just for the record? Mr.
got
Bird,
it.
Bird, would you give us your record?
7508 Duvalde.
Great, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak this evening at our first public forum? Yes, sir, please come up.
So I'm 7507 Duvalde, Jason Hooker. I'm the one that lives right across the road from, everybody keeps worrying about the kids. We just adopted 4. So I have 6 children and a mother-in-law. And like I said, the mosquitoes are still bad. I know you said they've been treated, but they're real bad in there. Like, we have a pool on the backside, but it's hard to even stay outside with because it's infested. I've killed 3 snakes this year and multiple mice I've kicked back across the road. So it's hard to let your kids play in the front yard anymore anyway, but now with that house, it's definitely hard to do that. So
Thank you very much. We're on it. We'll do everything we can. Anyone else wish to speak at our first public forum? Yes, ma'am, please come up. We can hear you. The recorder can hear you better if you're there.
Yes, Sarah again. So it's come to my just living in this area and getting to explore this part of western Winston-Salem, that this is the second home that has been abandoned in this neighborhood. The first one is back where it's out of everyone's way. They don't really pay attention, but this is the second home that has been abandoned near our property. So,
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak this evening? Again, thank you for those taking the time to come down and share your thoughts with us. We're to our first public hearing this evening, and this is a public hearing on our 2019-2020 budget. Hank, would you like to bring us up to date?
Yes, sir. I have this evening an abbreviated version of my manager's budget message. This reflects the budget as deliberated by the town council, and it has been pared down from the 4 pages that I've read before, so I'll just go through it for us. The proposed budget for the general fund is $4,656,325. This is an increase of 2.87% over the prior year's budget as adopted for July 1st, 2018. The budget is proposed includes maintaining the current tax rate of 17.7 cents per $100 evaluation. The budget is balanced with $75,505 in fund balance from the general fund. The town of Louisville also collects a levy for a municipal service district. The current tax rate is 4.5 cents per $100 evaluation. The proposed tax for the municipal service district for fiscal year 2019-2020 is increased to 5 cents per $100 evaluation. And according to the Forsyth County tax appraisers, the total value of the town of Louisville for the upcoming fiscal year is estimated at $1,403,317,047. This produces an estimated ad valorem tax revenue for $2,409,350. For town services, the town of Louisville stays committed to the continuation of all existing services for the upcoming fiscal year, to include parks and recreation, finance, administration, planning and zoning, public works, residential garbage and recycling, stormwater management, community policing, and beautification. All services are proposed to continue at current service delivery levels for the upcoming fiscal year. Moving on to capital reserve funds, the town has 4 capital reserve funds. Currently, annual appropriations to all of these funds total $405,000 per year. At the Town Council Capital Planning Session held this February 2nd, the council reaffirmed its desire to proactively support the development of the downtown area, the road and sidewalk improvements throughout the town, as well as the desire to develop future capital facilities such as a new community center. During the fiscal year 2017-2018, the Town Council learned that the North Carolina Department of Transportation plans to assume financial responsibility for the remaining work to be done on the Great Wagon Road, to include design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction. As construction of the Great Wagon Road progresses, we anticipate that the town of Louisville will participate financially with the North Carolina Department of Transportation on enhancements such as sidewalks, trees, and streetlights. Thus, proposed funding for this budget for all capital reserves is to remain unchanged at $405,000. Projects that we have for the upcoming fiscal year: the town will continue design work on the Gateway project, along with right-of-way and construction work in the upcoming fiscal year. The town will continue design work, right-of-way, and construction of a BMP or best management practice wet pond for stormwater treatment in the downtown area of the town of Louisville. The pond will be located just southwest of the intersection of Shallowford Road and Heritage Drive. The town has also been awarded funding for the construction of a single-lane roundabout at Robin Hood Road and Louisville-Vienna Road. And finally, in April, the town council approved a contract with a design firm to study the feasibility of building a new community center in the town of Louisville. Work on the next budget year will be contingent as the results of this study. That's it, and that's my prepared comments for this evening.
Very good. And I always ask our town finance director if we are in sound fiscal shape.
We are, yes.
Very good. And would you share what we have in our capital reserves as well as what we have in our unrestricted reserves?
We currently have $2,360,000 in our capital reserves, and our unassigned fund balance is approximately $5 million right now.
Very good. So folks, what this says is we have $7.5 million in the bank that we've been able to save over the years because we believe there are projects that the town will want to do to enrich the lives of our residents. And we set up capital reserve accounts to put money in every budget year. And so we're in a position now to be able to do some really exciting things for the town of Louisville over the next few years. I hope you'll stick with us. This is an exciting time to be in Louisville, and certainly an exciting time to be serving on your council.
Mike, I might also mention that before we open the public hearing, that in this past year, we as a council adopted a comprehensive financial management plan too, that tied everything together as we go forward, that we had been doing piecemeal, but now it's all been tied together. And I think that's a great effort that we had done in the past year.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin, for that reminder. With that, we will open the public hearing on the 2019-2020 budget. Anybody who wishes to speak, please come forward now. Anybody who wishes to speak? This is your $4.7 million that we're getting ready to spend. Anybody wish to speak? Very good. With that, we'll close the public hearing. Council members, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Mock makes the motion, Mr. Green makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That is unanimous. And thank you, council members, for your continued support in the budget process and all the things you do. It's rare that you have a council that is unanimous in support of a budget. There's usually always some issues that arrive, and that we work diligently to try to make sure that we have a budget that's responsive to our residents and fiscally conservative and responsive. So thank you, council members. Stacy, you have the first of our Lake Lacera public hearings.
Okay. This one's not part of the PowerPoint, but tonight before you is ordinance 2019025. It is a rezoning for 740.95 square feet. And what this is a portion of tax pin 5876-22-3851. There's not a map up there, but what this is just a 5-foot strip of land. It's 5 foot by about 129 feet. This strip of land was annexed into the town on April 11th, 2019. And the reasoning for this rezoning tonight is because in the portion that was annexed, along with this 5 foot, the 5 foot was needed to make this portion contiguous with the town of Louisville's current jurisdiction. And so moving forward, this 5 foot strip of land, once it was added to the rest of the annexation, it was not had passed the deadline for needing to have postings in the newspaper, letters mailed to the adjacent property owners and so forth, are requirements for general statutes for rezoning in order for it to be included in the actual rezoning along with the annexation. So tonight, like I said, this property was annexed into the town of Louisville back in April, so we need to accept zoning for the property. It's currently zoned RS40 for Forsyth County jurisdiction, and the proposal is to accept the zoning as RS40 for the town of Louisville zoning jurisdiction. So I'll answer any questions that you have.
Council members, any questions for Stacy? Very good. We will open the public hearing on this matter. If anybody wishes to speak in support of or in opposition to this action to be considered by the council, please do so now. Anybody at all? If not, very good. We will close the public hearing. Council members, what's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Mr. Smith makes a motion. Mr. Franklin makes a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's unanimous. Stacy, the second public hearing, please.
Okay, Joyce, if you will start the slideshow for me. You can go on to the next slide. Okay, tonight there's going to be 3 things before you that we will consider individually. The first one is a rezoning to accept zoning contingent on an annexation. The second one is that same property is a special use permit and evidentiary hearing for a planned residential development subdivision that will include a site plan, also contingent on an annexation. And then the last one will be the actual request for the annexation into the corporate limits of the town of Louisville. So if you will advance, Joyce, for me. The first one is ordinance 2019-026. I didn't have that correct on the first slide, but the properties are identified as PIN numbers for the record: 5876-31-1390, 5876-20-8331, 5876-20-6061, and then a portion of 5876-22-3851. This request is for a rezoning contingent on annexation to accept jurisdiction for zoning from RS40 Forsyth County to RS40S, the town of Louisville zoning jurisdiction. April 10th, 2019, the planning board voted to recommend approval for this rezoning, again contingent on annexation to the council. If you will forward one slide, Joyce. The portion in yellow outlined on the map in front of you, that is the portion for the rezoning. Any questions that you have, I'll be willing to answer.
Council members?
The total amount of property?
The total amount of property is 26.42 acres.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions for Stacy? Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the beginning of the public hearing for this particular action by the council. Anybody have any comments in support of or in opposition to? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. I'm Lang Wilcox, 1210 Forest Wood Drive, Louisville, and the developer of the property, and I'm just here, as you all know, but I want to make a point to let you know that I'm here to answer any questions if you have any about the property.
Very good.
Other than that, it's just the addition to LaSara, as you've seen us do thus far, and it's consistent with everything that we've done to this date.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? In support of or in opposition to? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Council members, what's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
We taking each one?
Take each one separately, yeah.
Okay. Second.
Mr. Green makes the motion, Mr. Smith makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, that's unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, these sound very complicated, and they are complicated because we have a series of ordinances and procedures that we have to follow. This is not the first time the council has been briefed on any of these, so we came prepared tonight. We've done our homework. We've heard from our planning board. And so we're moving through them. It's not because we're moving through them without due course of consideration. We've been briefed several times on this. Bo, our next public hearing is actually an evidentiary hearing. Would you please give us a primer on that? But
yes,
first off,
Mayor,
is it
thank you.
primer or primer?
I'm not going to guess. I don't know. I think, I always said primer, but I'm not sure that that's right, so.
I'll find out why we gavel 3 times.
That's
For
right.
the next meeting.
That's right. This is a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing in consideration of a special use permit issued by the elected body. That is a relatively rare thing in the Unified Development Ordinances. It's only allowed presently for PRDs, I think some mining kinds of things, some off-site private access easements. The bottom line being that this is not something that comes before the council very often, and I have to advise the public that this is a very difficult process for council in that they are used to having citizens be able to approach them with questions about issues that are arising before the council, and I've had to advise them that they are not to speak to anyone about the pendency of this special use permit application, and so please excuse them for not having responded if you've been one of the folks who have asked them questions about it. And so I must now ask this question. Have any of you sitting on the council had any communications with other persons regarding the substance of this PRD special use permit application that will in any way affect your ability to hear the evidence and make unbiased findings of fact at the conclusion of the evidence?
No.
No.
Very good. Please keep an open mind until all of the evidence from both sides, considering whether or not there may be both sides tonight, don't know, is presented. And as I understand it, first, the findings that will need to be found following the staff presentation and the hearing of evidence are as follows. And again, the evidence that you'll be considering is only evidence as it relates to these 4 findings of fact. The first one is that the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the application and the plan as submitted and approved. And that burden would be on the opponent, if there is one, to the application. That the use meets all the required conditions and specifications, and that burden is upon the applicant to prove that to you. That the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity, and the burden would be on an opponent to make that proof. And finally, that the location and character of the use, if developed according to the application and plans submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the Louisville Comprehensive Plan, and that burden is on the applicant. Any motion that might be made following, excuse me, the presentation of evidence tonight, any motion to grant the special use permit will be deemed to include an affirmative finding as to all of those required findings of fact. If there is a motion to deny the special use permit, then the person making that motion will need to state which of the 4 findings of fact you believe are not or have not been properly met. When we begin, each of the presenters of evidence will be sworn, and then after following their presentation of what they have to say, the council will have an opportunity to ask questions, and if there are any people on the opposite side of those presenters of evidence, they will have an opportunity to ask questions as well, and we'll proceed on accordingly. I'm not sure that we're going to need that level of specificity for tonight's hearing.
Great.
My understanding is the first presenter is the planning staff, and I'll swear her in.
Any questions for Bo about how we're going to proceed? With not, ladies and gentlemen, this is the opening of the public hearing. This is an evidentiary hearing. The council will hear matters of fact only. Those people that wish to participate in this hearing will be asked to come up if you're a proponent or opponent, and you'll have an opportunity to ask your question, make your statement, and also provide rebuttal should you wish at a later time. Stacy?
Place your left hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear your testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Thank you, Bob. Joyce, if you'll advance the there for me. Thank you. Okay, the second portion tonight is a special use permit, evidentiary public hearing for a request for a planned residential development. This is ordinance 2019029. The development includes 12 lots. 3 of those lots front on an existing private street, and the other lots will be along 2 new additional proposed streets that go along with the development. The streets are to remain private. They will not become town streets as the other streets remain that way in the lake at Lasara. And if you will go ahead and advance. Okay, there's the site plan before you. You can see the 2 new proposed streets. In green on the site plan, that is new additional open space. And the yellow that you see is already existing open space. For the record, it is the same PIN numbers as it was in the previous public hearing. Okay. So the applicant is requesting for the property to be annexed to the town of Louisville for a planned residential development. This special use permit would be contingent upon that annexation. The property is currently zoned RS40 under now the Louisville jurisdiction, contingent upon the annexation as we go through this process tonight. The property, it does meet all of the requirements of the UDO. There is one particular thing that the applicant is requesting relief from. The PRD requires that there are 1 linear foot of sidewalk, greenways, or bike paths in the development per 1 centerline linear foot of actual road. The applicant exceeds that ratio. However, that ratio, there are some of those greenways that do not meet ADA standards and requirements. So he is asking for that relief tonight, and the town council is the elected body that may give him that relief. There was a letter issued to you on his behalf that he wrote that is in your packets tonight requesting that relief. The plan does meet the requirements and propose of the Louisville Comprehensive Plan, and also the legacy for Forsyth County, Winston-Salem, the Legacy Development Guide. If you'll advance for me, Joyce. Before you, you will see the 7 findings that the Planning Board found at their April 10th, 2019 technical review that they had of the development. Joyce, if you'll go forward. And then tonight, along with those 7 findings of the planning board, they also recommended to you to include staff's placed conditions, that all comments from the technical review committee would be remedied. This would be prior to the signing of a final plat. A staff change shall be completed with the City County Planning and Development Services Department to reallocate open space required for the county-approved planned residential development that already exists for the Lake of Lasara to a new location prior to the signing of final plat. And then lastly, the PRD pedestrian access requirements regarding ADA compliance be waived by the elected body. So those are the 4 findings that you should find tonight if you decide to approve the special use permit. Again, this is contingent on the annexation. Anybody has any questions for me?
Council members, any questions for Stacy? Is there anybody here who is the proponent of this request who has any questions for Stacy? Is there anybody here who is a opponent, O and P, I guess we'll refer to them, who is an opponent of this request, who has any questions of our planner? Very good. This time we'll ask the proponent to come forward and make a presentation should you wish.
Vote.
solemnly swear any testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I will. Thank you. Council and Mayor, again, I'm Lang Wilcox, 1210 Forestwood Drive in Louisville, and the developer of the property. And again, we're doing the same thing on the project. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer your questions regarding the open space, the trails. We do exceed the 2-to-1 requirement on the trails versus the roads. We've got about 1,000 feet of roadways and 3,300 feet roughly of new trails. We're thankfully going to be the keeper of a beautiful stream at the bottom of the land. The property owner is here with us tonight watching this process. And it's just an absolutely gorgeous stream down on one of the protected areas below the lots in this section. So we're excited to be the custodian of that in the future. And the neighbors are excited to be able to have that trail to go walk down there and enjoy it. So if you have any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Very good. Is there anybody here who has any questions, anybody here in opposition who has any questions for the proponent or the petitioner? Anybody have any questions for the petitioner? Okay, very good. Council members, any question for the petitioner? Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This would be the final opportunity if anybody in the audience has any comments they wish to make, either proponents or opponents. Anybody have any comments that they wish to make at this particular time? Good. Council members, discussion up to us and pending a motion, your consideration of a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that I believe that the petitioner has met all 4 of the needed, help me out here, findings. That, and also that the waiver of the ADA requirements is reasonable for the trails that have been set forth without the handicap access to those trails. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Mr. Franklin makes the motion, Mr. Smith makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That is unanimous. Very good. Okay, Stacy, we're down to your last presentation on the actual annexation.
Joyce, if you'll progress the slide for me, please. Okay. So the last thing before you, what all these things have been contingent on is the actual annexation of the property for the Lake at Lasara Phase 2, Section 5. And you'll see the PIN numbers before you of what that annexation would entail into the corporate limits of the town of Louisville. For the record, this is ordinance 2019030.
Very good. Any questions for Stacy? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on the annexation request by the petitioner. Anybody wish to speak? Opponents or proponents? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Council members?
Mayor, I've always said we've always welcomed people that want to voluntarily annex into the town of Louisville. So with that, I'll make a motion to annex this property.
And I will second.
Mr. Franklin makes a motion. Mr. Smith makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That is unanimous. And Mr. Wilcox, a quick calculation here. It looks like that potentially can bring in approximately $5.5 to $6 million in property tax value that will help maintain our property tax rate at the rate it's at. And thank you very much for your consideration. Certainly thank you for asking to be part of Louisville. Hank, we're down to Pam, we're down to new business. This is your money ask.
Yeah. We have ordinance 2019027. This is to establish a new capital projects fund. It will be called Roundabout at Louisville, Vienna Road and Robin Hood Road. The project authorizes the purchase of right-of-way, utility relocation, design, environmental documentation, and construction in the conversion of the existing intersection to a single-lane roundabout. The budget for this project is $1,270,000. 80% will be paid by federal money, and the town will match the remaining 20%.
Any questions for Pam? Council, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Smith makes a motion, Ms. Mock makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, that's unanimous. Pam?
Okay, then we have ordinance 2019028. This is to amend the budget ordinance 2018001 in the amount of $254,000 to transfer the town's 20% share in the cost of the roundabout at Louisville, Vienna Road and Robin Hood Road from the general fund to the newly created capital projects fund.
Any questions for Pam? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So we'll do Mr. Franklin, the motion to approve, and Mr. Smith, the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, that's unanimous. This is an exciting project for Louisville. Many of you know we have a new school, a new middle school that's going to be built, or a new elementary school that's going to be built up on Robin Hood Road and Louisville, Vienna Road. We anticipate a increase in development around new schools, which is usually what happens. This roundabout will be absolutely essential in helping to move traffic through that area. It's a great investment of $284,000 on behalf of the town, $254,000. Thank you. I read your lips. I'll get better at it. And like we say again, the total project is $1 million, and we were able to secure federal funding to help us with this project. Hank, you want to talk about the awarding of a contract?
Yes, the last thing that we've got connected to this roundabout is the consideration of Resolution 2019045. This is approving a contract with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for the construction of the Louisville, Vienna Road, Robin Hood Road roundabout, and authorizing the town manager to execute the contract. This is an agreement with the state of North Carolina that this is going to be a locally administered project, and that we are to treat this as if it was a DOT project. And this is the agreement with the DOT where we say that we will.
Excellent. Any questions for Hank?
I do have one. If we enter into this, they're going to take care of all the design, everything. This is like,
No, this is us.
oh,
This is like the Shallowford Road roundabout project.
okay, all right. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else for Hank? Council, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Smith makes a motion, Ms. Mock makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, that is unanimous. Stacy, I think this is the second to the last time you're up.
Yes.
tonight. This is the Stacy Show tonight.
Mayor and council, before you is Resolution 2019046. This is to set a public hearing for Thursday, July 11th, 2019, to receive comments on case L090. It is a rezoning request to rezone the property located at 7675 Yaconville Road from RS40 to YR. It's a small portion of that property.
Very good. Any questions for Stacy?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Franklin makes a motion, Mr. Smith makes a second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's unanimous.
Lastly is the Resolution 2019047. This is another request to set a public hearing for Thursday, July 11th, 2019, to receive comments on case L091. This is a request for an evidentiary public hearing for a special use permit for a planned residential development located off Shallowford Road. The name of that subdivision would be Avondale subdivision.
Any questions for Stacy? Stacy, how many units or how many lots is that going to be?
I believe 49.
49 lots, okay. Very good. Any additional questions? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Smith makes a motion, Ms. Mock makes the second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That is unanimous.
Thank you.
And we'll be briefed in much more detail on this in our July meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Hank.
Yes, we have ordinance 2019024, amending Chapter 13-8 for the Louisville Utilities and Stormwater Committee Charter of the Louisville Town Code.
The only comment I've got is what Joyce recently sent us yesterday or day before yesterday. I believe is an older version of the current charter. However, the changes I'm good with because it's taken it from a monthly meeting to a quarterly meeting and with special use meetings as needed, you know. So the changes I think were good. I'm just saying that I think what was emailed to us may have been an older version because it even still mentioned the 2015 formation of the committee in the document that I saw and so forth. So that's just the only comment I've got from what I read. I was hoping to touch base with Joe. I've just been so busy I haven't been able to do that. So
Comment noted, Ms. Walker?
Okay. Generally, whenever something is formed, we don't usually take that information out because I think, Hank, you had mentioned that on one of the other charters, but we just usually leave in all of the formation information.
Okay.
But
well,
that was the last one because I keep a running tab of each
right.
update.
It just, I just, you know, I didn't have anything to compare it with. I just was, you know, thought it might have been a bit dated and so forth. The only other comment that I would have is in the change, if we would add where it says the meetings as far as the special called meeting, if we would pluralize that to meetings and maybe put the S in parentheses, it might read a little better. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve this ordinance.
Changes noticed, Ms. Walker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Done it.
There's a motion on the floor. Mr. Franklin? Mrs. Mock makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Hank, we have a little update on our ABC control system resolution.
So we had a resolution some time ago in March that we considered, and at that point we had tabled it because we had heard when there were some anticipated changes to the ABC system for the state of North Carolina. And at that time, the changes proposed were not seen as that intrusive and as broadly sweeping as they are now. Recently, they have introduced at the General Assembly House Bill 971, and without getting into the details, it is significantly overhauling the ABC system for the state of North Carolina, doing things such as privatizing a lot of the system and doing away with the ABC boards. And we've got a resolution before you that we've discussed last week, basically supporting the ABC system for the state of North Carolina in its current condition and seeking to continue the system as it currently exists.
Obviously, our concerns on this is, number one, the current system has a very good law enforcement backing through the ABC board. We have very tight, they have very tight controls on purchasing and distribution. They also, through their shared tax revenues, contribute about 154,000.
140.
140,000. We'll get close on some of these one day. $140,000 to our general fund, and this is one source of revenue that helps offset potential increases in property taxes. It's one of the sources of revenue that we count on. So I think we've had some updates that the potential of this bill may or may not go forward, but I think as a safeguard, we should probably go ahead and go on record as a council, I believe, as Clemens is and Kernersville is and other municipalities are, in opposition to the privatization. With that, I entertain a motion. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Smith makes it second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Hank, give us your reports.
Okay, first we have upcoming events at Shalford Square and town closings. On Friday, the 14th of June, that is tomorrow night, we're going to have movie night, Back to the Future, the original, a very classic movie. Moving on to the next day, the 15th, we're going to have, I guess, the park technically closed. We're going to be performing general maintenance on items such as the irrigation system for the park itself. And then moving forward to Saturday, the 22nd of June, we're going to have our food truck festival. That is a town event. It's going to be a big event, and I believe it's, gosh, I'd hate to guess as to the year. It's probably the 5th annual by this point.
I think it is.
Yeah. And then lastly, I will make note that town offices will be closed on Thursday, July 4th for Independence Day, but we'll all be here because that's going to be our big our fireworks celebration to celebrate Independence Day. Oh, yes, and our counselor has told me that July 2nd will be our new date for the meeting for that week, for this council.
He was just impatient with you. That was the next item on your agenda. Yeah.
That's correct, but he was whispering in my ear.
I could tell. I heard that. I'm glad that's what that was about. Okay. Hank, I think you have just a couple of other things on there?
Yes, I do. Moving forward in the manager's report, I would like to announce that the Forsyth County Historic Resources Commission, or HRC, has one appointment this term. This particular seat is an archaeologist, landscape architect or designer, planner, surveyor, or arborist position, which requires the member to demonstrate that they have professional experience in one of the fields listed above and have a demonstrated interest or competence in or knowledge of historic preservation. And then next I have on there that what I've already announced, the town council briefing for July will be held on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019, since the holiday falls on the regular briefing night for Town Hall, and Town Hall will be closed. And please refer to the town's meeting calendar that was approved in January for this. And then lastly, anyone interested in running for mayor or council in November election can apply for the Forsyth County Board of Elections between noon on Friday, July 5th, 2019, and noon on Friday, July 19th, 2019. The filing fee for both offices is $5. The Board of Elections will provide all requirements. And then I will move on to approvals at the briefing and action meeting on June 6th of last week. We did approve the letter of support for the Shalford Road sidewalk project, approving the estimated cost of $700,000 with 20% match by the town in an amount of $140,000. And lastly, we approved Resolution 2019049, amending the town of Louisville's alcohol policy.
Very good. Hank, can you give us just a brief update on the road repairs on Shalford?
Yes, as many people in this room are aware, the last Thursday night after our briefing, there was a water main break in Shalford Road in front of the town annex, between the annex and the park square. The crews for the Forsyth County Winston-Salem Utilities Commission, or CCUC, have been working pretty much nonstop on getting that water main repair done and preparing the streets for, I guess, repair and opening them back up again. They did put out a press release today. They were hoping to have the streets open, I guess, by the coming Monday. They have since announced that the opening has been pushed back to the 19th, which would have been the following Wednesday, and that pushback is due to weather.
Very good.
With
We do have a detour.
4 beautiful days coming up.
We do have a detour, and the Fries have been monitoring that detour with us, and we'd like to urge our residents to please be careful. As you come south on Shallowford Road, you have to make a very sharp right-hand turn onto North Street. Please don't make it too wide, because you're going to be entering into the oncoming lane of people coming from North Street to Shallowford. The route takes you around Shallowford Square. You'll make a left, you'll make another left on David McKee Street, and then you'll make a right to get back on Shallowford Road. We urge our residents, please, please, please be careful during this little period of time. There is a potential there for accidents, and Mr. and Ms. Fry will be monitoring that, and will provide expert witnesses for those people that encounter collisions.
Speaking of that, Hank, could it be maybe tomorrow y'all look at some consideration of establishing a line of cones up North Street that moves that lane, centers the wideness of North Street?
We tried that, Councilman Franklin, but the cars coming off Shallowford Road making that left ended up trying to stay to the left of those cones.
I was talking about up North Street to Great Wagon Road.
Yeah, that's what we did, but when they made that
Turning
turn,
right.
they
People
made
turning
the
right.
right-hand turn, and they proceeded on the left-hand side of the cones.
There's not a good fix for this right now, folks, so please be careful.
Okay. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final opportunity
Sit
this
out on
evening
the porch on the rocker and watch them.
for you to make any comments you want to share with the council members. Please come forward at this time, give us your name and address, and share with us your thoughts. Anyone wish to come forward? Very good. Council members, final comments.
I just want to make one comment. I know we talked about the budget earlier and approved it, but I just want to say, I mean, we've done this, I've had the privilege of serving now for 4 terms, and it seems like every year it gets better and better in the last few years, and I think that's just a well preparation by the staff, and you guys are getting out in front of this. You anticipate what we're going to ask, what we're looking for, and job well done, because it certainly went very smoothly, I think.
By unanimous acclamation, I think we'll extend that praise by Mr. Smith to all of the town staff, because it was indeed a labor of love, and it went very smoothly. You made our job very simple.
And I will sort of mirror that in saying that the work that has been done not only over the last 8 years, but in the previous years of building these capital reserve funds and so forth, has put us in a position that as we go forward over the next several years, in preparing budgets and doing projects, we're in a great position. We really are as a town to advance some ideas that's been on the table for a number of years, from the community center to road widening projects and sidewalk projects and so forth and so on. It's going to be exciting to see happen over the course of the next 5 years, if you will.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Council members, any other comments? Very good. Then thank you for those of you sitting in our audience tonight. Yes, Ms. Walker.
Excuse me, did you want the information on the survey?
I would like the information on the survey. Thank you. See, it wasn't on my agenda and I missed it. Thank you for
Yeah, you
calling.
forgot, you were going to ask me, but anyway.
Hey, Mrs. Walker, can you give us an update on the survey?
I'll be glad to. Anyway, we sent out 5,423 to our various households. That included those folks in the apartments, condos, homes, everything. We received 1,774 back at the consultants, and that gives us like a 33% return of our surveys that he's working through. He's almost finished with everything, and he's hoping to have all the results to us by the 20th. We did have a few things that came back to the town, but those were things that we're looking to resolve vacant homes and that kind of thing. But other than that, we seem to have good results from this survey.
Very good. For those of you unfamiliar with what Ms. Walker's talking about, as part of our comprehensive plan review, which occurs every 5 years, every household in Louisville receives a survey asking for your thoughts and your ideas, and we take those and we tabulate them and we bring them, we make them part of our comprehensive plan review, which will be occurring over the next few months. Those of you that have returned, the 1,700 of you that have returned those, thank you very, very much. Your input is incredibly valuable. I frankly will say I don't know of any other municipality in North Carolina that goes through this type of citizen participation and engagement in reviewing and updating their comprehensive plan. It's your town. Your thoughts are important, and thank you very much for taking time. Council members, any other comments?
Great turnout.
With that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Go ahead. Second.
Mrs. Mock makes a motion, Mr. Smith makes a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. We're adjourned.